Okay, well, hello everyone, this is Okami. It is a beautiful game. This is the PS3 HD remaker.
Okami.
Way. So this is New Game Plus, so we have these beautiful shiny files. These are more practice files, and we start off with an empty one. So are you ready on the timer? In 3, 2, 1, go. Usually we start RTA timing on a different moment. We started after this first load, but for race timing we tend to do it on file select because it's a little bit easier to do. So first off, we have 3 cutscenes that last about 14 minutes, but because we're doing New Game Plus, we can just skip all these cutscenes like that, and we just start off in the game. So we are playing a wolf called Amaterasu. This is us. And we are trying to get our brush powers back and save the world. That is the basic story. I'm gonna sequence break the hell out of this game, so the story doesn't really matter that much. You're not gonna see much of it. So a thing you might notice is that I'm jumping in and out of cutscenes. This is called speed restoration. Amaterasu has 2 modes of speed, half speed and full speed, and when you're in full speed you go really fast, so we try to save that by jumping in and out of cutscenes. Now this is the brush, and with it we're drawing a star. Wow, beautiful. And we just drew a star on a constellation, and that gives us a new brush power. In this case it gives us restoration, which does this. It makes a beautiful river. So the idea of the brush is that by going into the brush you can manipulate the world into doing things that you want it to do, but you need to have the specific brush powers to do so. And that is the main quote-unquote gimmick of the game. Other than that, you're just a god, basically. So another thing about Okami is that there is a lot of movement involved. So you'll see me just like moving around, running, just making sure I get the right angles a lot. Movement optimization is important in this game, together with something else, but we'll see. So next up we are trapped here, and we are going to restore this sword, which gives us a very useful ability. At least in my casual playthrough it was always useful. It gives us the power slash power, and it does this. If you draw a straight line, you can cut through certain things like that. Oh hey, cut the tree in the background. That's nice. So the thing about this game is that the triggers are either really small or really big. I just walked around a fight trigger. There's supposed to be a fight there with a small tutorial on how to fight, but we don't want to fight. That's slow. That's way too slow. And we're going to do the same right here. We just walk around the trigger, and we just skipped another fight. It's really hard tech, guys. I have missed it before in runs. I actually did it once. It was quite embarrassing. So this is basically the tutorial area where the game teaches you how to play the game, but since I already know that, I'm just blazing through it. I'm just grabbing power slash, because we need power slash to be able to get to the rest of the game. Because the souls of a village are trapped in a fruit, and for some reason we have to cut down that fruit to release them again. Don't ask me why. There we go, that was the fruit. And now the village is somewhat restored. So we're going to explore a little bit. What a beautiful green village. There are still some things wrong with the village, but because this is any percent, we're just going to skip fixing it. Because there's no reason to. The village can fix itself. So we're just going to jump down here. Now coming up next is a very important glitch that you'll be seeing a lot throughout the run, so pay close attention. I'll explain it afterwards. I missed it. Wow. There we go. That only took forever. So what I just did is called the KT glitch, or KT jump glitch, or infinite jump glitch. By switching your... in New Game Plus, you get these items called Karmic Transformers, or KTs. And by switching them in mid-air, the game thinks you're on the ground for a single frame. If you, during that single frame, you press the dash button, you will dash in mid-air, and you can get a jump off of that. So you can chain those together to basically get an infinite jump glitch, which is really useful to completely break open this game. For instance, an average casual, like, fast playthrough takes about 8 hours, and the world record right now is 1 hour and 22 minutes by Eternal Darkness, who is really good at this game. So here we're finally going to go into our first battle, and we are going to equip a few weapons and items. And it's going to go by pretty fast. So first I'm going to equip two weapons, these ones, and I'm going to equip the String of Beads. Now what that does, it gives me infinite health, infinite ink, and I can't die, basically. And it gives me a lot of attack power as well. I also use what is called an Exorcism Slip. That was that white thing you saw appear. These are used throughout the run to sort of just cheese fights. They deal a lot of damage to everything on the screen. The String of Beads actually does not multiply that damage. So it's pretty crazy that the developers made an item that strong. I also equipped what is called a Peace Bell. It'll basically keep enemies away from me so I can just go fast. So here we're going to another fight. And because this is a fight, we're going to cheese it with a slip. There we go. And we don't really. So next up, you're supposed to have the brush power called Sunrise, but we never got that, and we never will. Luckily, the game is nice, and basically gives us the brush power without actually giving us the brush power. Don't ask me how it works, it just does. And we can use it. It's used a couple of times in the run, and it's pretty funny that you can just use it without actually getting it. There we have one of my favorite parts of the run. Everyone get your exploding implosions ready. It is Susano time. Susano is mad because his training spot has been taken by a bear, so we're gonna beat that bear. Oh. Susano! Now for our exploding implosion. That's totally how those things work. And then we go straight into the worst part of this game, the ball. So this is the ball. We only have to push it once, luckily. It is very precise in its collision checking. So you really have to learn how to properly manipulate it. And that was a really good ball, actually. That's just the way I want to do it. Many runs have died to this stupid thing. And then we draw another sun, even though we can't. Beautiful sun, isn't it? And we get another brush power. Now this brush power is very important because it basically opens up the rest of the game. It is Bloom. And it does this. It blooms trees. And that's all we really need from Hana Valley. So we're gonna leave it again. And there's a fight here, so we're gonna skip it by jumping over it. I'm having a lot of troubles with my KTs. KTs are pretty hard. We recently finally confirmed that KTs are in fact frame perfect. It's basically 1/30th of a second. So you really have to time it properly. And I'm usually pretty consistent at them, but right now, probably because of a different TV with different input lag, it's kind of tripping me up a little. So the idea of using Bloom is to get rid of these cursed zones. That's the gray and black red area that you see, which I can't walk through. And we bloom these guardian saplings to make the world pretty again. It's called restoration, I think. Something like, or great intervention, I don't know. The game uses a term for it. I don't remember it anymore because it's been too long since I've seen that term used. Now, the game wants you to do a lot of things in Shinshu Field here, but I don't really need to do anything here. So we're just going to leave, which we're not allowed to yet, but we've got this really cool infinite jump glitch. And I'm having way too much trouble. Okay, that's really bad. Let's try that again. Okay, I figured out what my timing problem was. I'm being too early with my timing. That was a little bad. Oh well. So here we are into the next area called Agata Forest. It is also full of a cursed zone, and we want to get rid of that. So we need to find the Guardian Sapling. Now we're actually not supposed to enter the area from here, so that's why there's a cursed zone right outside here. And this is what happens when you walk in a cursed zone. So the Guardian Sapling is somewhere out there. And I got fan lag. There we go. So we just go out of bounds, and there's the tree. Hello, tree. You're actually supposed to have a certain brush power to be able to get to this tree, and we skipped getting that brush power. So we have to go out of bounds to bloom this tree. Now again, the game expects you to do a lot of things here in Agata Forest. But doing things here right now isn't very fast. So, just gonna go somewhere else. First and foremost, however, we are going to jump up here. I need to get a KT for that. This is slightly faster than walking all the way around. And we're going to trigger what is called a mermaid spring. Now mermaid springs are the fast travel points in this game, and you need to activate them before you're able to use them. So if you miss that mermaid spring, you lose a minute, basically. Probably more than that. It is pretty big time loss. So the thing about KTs is that you can't do them above water, so we do something else called a liquid KT, where you dash right above the water and then switch your Karmic Transformer. And for some reason, you don't have to time a dash press to be able to get the jump out of it. Which is pretty nice, but you need to be right above the water, and timing that correctly can mess you up. So this is Takapass. The tree is actually right above me, but we can't go there yet, because for some reason we have to go somewhere else before we're able to bloom that tree. So let's go there. So again, we have to go all the way around because we need a certain brush power before we're able to get here. And we have time for a donation.
We have a €15 donation from Rigold saying, as I said, donated €5 for every failed song in Majora's Mask. Hope that I spread the joys onto the bids accordingly. Boyo!
So, in the meantime, we quickly beat Waka. We'll only be doing that once. Waka is a very annoying guy who basically thinks he's amazing. And that's all you really need to know about him. But for some reason, we need to defeat Waka before we're able to bloom the tree in this area. So that's why we went all the way around. It's actually funny that in the Wii version, the Japanese Wii version is the only version in the game where you don't have to do that. And we have no idea why. It's like not even on the English Wii version you can do that. It makes absolutely no sense. So now that we bloom Taka, we can actually do things here. And we're going to do things here for the first time. So did I mention we have a bark button? Bark. Bark, bark, bark. So first up we're gonna travel over here, and you can see, I think, not yet, but right there is a devil gate, or demon gate. When you walk under the demon gate, it spawns a fight. Oh, that was too early. And after the fight, you usually get something out of it. I'm charging up speed right here, so we can get full speed after a little cutscene here. So what we just activated here is another mermaid spring, so another fast travel point that we will be using later. So next up, we're gonna travel over here. This is Sasa Sanctuary. We're not actually able to be inside of it. We're not allowed to. We have to find the daughter of the boss of the gang here. But luckily, there's a very peculiar thing about this game that we're gonna abuse. Not just the infinite jump glitch. If I can get it. So we just jumped over the loading zone. And we're jumping out of bounds and just falling for a bit. So the thing about this game is, is that interior areas are below exterior areas. Oops. So we just skipped saving the daughter of the boss, and we just go straight into this area, where there's supposed to be a hot spring, but it's run dry. So together with this old dude, we are going to dig ourselves a new hot spring. So this is a digging minigame where we try to go down as quickly as possible. The fastest way of completing this is by trying to get the old man down the fastest. We actually used to go down ourselves the fastest, but we quickly found out that this is just faster. So now that we've completed the digging game, the hot spring is back to normal. And by doing that, we get another brush power. This one is called Water Spout. And what you can do with this is you can control water like this. And like this. Create a giant pillar of water you can stand on. Now the thing is, we're still not able to leave this area because we haven't saved the daughter. So we need to actually jump out of it. There we go. And we're outside. So the reason we need water spout is that we need to use it to be able to get the next guardian sapling to bloom. And we're gonna travel over there now. So this is city checkpoint. You're supposed to have beaten a giant demon before you're able to pass through here. However, there is a very cool and interesting glitch we can use, and it's not the KT glitch. Well, in some ways it is the KT glitch, and I just messed up. So I'm supposed to jump in a very tight manner, and I jumped too late. So I have to reset this real quick. So we're gonna try it again. There we go. So when you're in water, you can't KT basically. And the way we get up here is we go into the little corner here and we trigger the corner glitch. If you swim into a corner, the game basically lets you auto jump out of the water. And we abuse that to be able to get here where you're not supposed to be able to get. And then by using the KT glitch, we can just get to the other side. Fun fact, these buildings do not have a backside. And we go to the next area. So by doing just this little thing, we skipped an entire dungeon. I like to stress that. We just skipped an entire dungeon. We don't have to do like a 15-minute dungeon to get to here. So here we're gonna go into the cursed zone for a little bit. And that is just to skip a forced fight, because we don't like forced fights. So we just walk around the trigger, and we jump down here. So once again, we are supposed to have a brush power here, but we have this really cool glitch. Actually, even if you have that brush power, it's faster to go like this, because you can skip one of the pools here, like that. And there we go. We have given water to this poor little guardian sapling, and it'll grow into a big old tree. There we go. So we're almost done with the first third of this speedrun. We're basically going to do something really cool here, so pay close attention. Oh, and I missed it. There we go. That is called stair clip. For some reason, by walking into the stairs at a very precise angle, the game allows you to clip out of bounds. And like I said earlier, interior areas are below exterior areas, and I accidentally went into the loading zone. Whoops. Not supposed to go into that loading zone. It wastes a bunch of time. And this is the dojo. Onigiri-sensei is going to learn us a very useful ability, or god technique to be more exact. Or teach us rather, learn us, wow, good English. He is basically going to teach us Holy Eagle, which is a double jump. So that basically halves the amount of infinite jumps we have to do. And we have a part coming up where we need to do a lot of them, so it's a very useful ability. And we have time for a donation.
All right, we have €5 from Alkling saying Frankersy. Thank you for that donation.
Go. And we're gonna do another liquid KT here. Basically just to extend movement. So there's another fight here, a forced fight that we're going to just jump around. It's a little tight because there's water on the left here, and you can't KT above water, so... There we go. Did a double jump just for safety. And next we're going to go into an area we're really not supposed to be in yet. This is the second to last area. See if I can get my jumps. Not promising good for Gilstorm. I need to do another one, I dropped too far. This is northern Ryushima coast, or Ryushima coast, depends on how you say it. So we've been playing for 26 minutes and we're in the second to last area. And still Waka comes up and says that we're way too slow and that he has already fixed this area for us. Guess we're not fast enough for him. It's actually funny, we do not have the rush power to be able to defeat this enemy yet, so we are forced to use a slip to be able to beat him. So next we're going to go to this merchant over here, and we're gonna go for a little bit of shopping. It's a very short menu. Just bought 11 mermaid coins. The mermaid coins are used in the mermaid springs to be able to fast travel. So that's a very useful thing to have right now because we're almost at the end of all the things we need to set up. So here we're going to summon Orca, so get your Orca Z's in chat, or Orca Z's. Depends on what you want. So we're just setting up Orca right there, and we're gonna leave him and do other things. Very tedious other things, I can tell you. Oh, I overshot the mermaid spring a little bit. So on the map you didn't see any fast travel points. Usually it gives you little icons to where you can fast travel, but because we actually never got the explanation as to what mermaid springs are, we skipped that. They never show up on the map, which is pretty funny. So here we are back in Takapass, and we're gonna go up to Kusa village, or some people like to call Kuso village, which I kind of agree with. So Kusa village is cursed, but they can handle themselves. We're just gonna walk through it real quick. While in Kusa village though, we cannot use any of our brush powers or things like that, and our ink slowly drains, but since we have infinite ink, it doesn't really matter much. A little bit of optimized movement right there. So there's Princess Fuse right here. She's in trouble, but she can handle herself. So we'll just walk past her. And we're gonna go straight into the dungeon. Now, this dungeon, you're supposed to have done a giant fetch quest to be able to enter. However, we have this really cool glitch. However, at the same time, we have to do that glitch 100 times in a row to be able to get to where we need to be. So for the next 8 minutes, I'll be kind of quiet and focused on doing that glitch. So if you have, like, if you want to grab a cup of coffee or anything, now is a perfect moment. Because we are going to travel for a bit. Now the entire dungeon is basically on the same map. So we're just going to jump straight into the place where we need to go. So first we're going to escape the first area, which is called the box. And then we're going to go over to that area, and I'm aiming slightly to the left of that white thing. You can do donations whenever.
All right, we have 8 euros from Ilkling again, saying, might as well. So now we actually reached 400 euros. That's actually amazing. Let's actually beat that record from last BSG. We can do it. We still have a day to go. Thank you for that donation, man.
Right. The thing you might notice when I'm doing KTs is that right after the menu closes, I buffer 1 frame. This is basically to check if I got the KT. You can actually do KTs without buffer. I'll try, and I failed. Actually did a couple during the donation, I think. Or right before it. But yeah, this is the tedious part of the run. This usually takes about 8 minutes to do. It looks hard, but it really isn't. I should stop trying to do bufferless. Doing bufferless saves about 0.8 seconds on every single KT, so if you can use that a couple of times in a run, you're just saving time. There we go, that's the bufferless KT. And another one. Oop. I should not have done that bufferless. So now that we can see that blue thing in the background, that's where I'm going to be aiming for next. I'm going to be aiming into the center of that. And I want to go a little higher, so I'm going to stop using dashes. And just go straight up. I'm still holding forward the whole time though, so we need to travel forward quite a bit. So the way you time the frame perfect input is by looking at the last moment that the fan closes. And sometimes that takes a little bit. You get a little bit of lag, like it gets stuck on the final couple of frames. We call that fan lag, and it kind of depends on your PS3 if you get it or not. My PS3 likes to do it at least 5 times in a run, and it basically means a failed KT, and it's very annoying because it messes up your timing. Because you want to press the button the first frame that you're back into the gameplay. Okay, I think I've got enough height for now, so we're gonna go back to forward. Momentum. slowly but surely we're gonna be getting to see where we're actually wanting to go. You can already see some of the polygons disappearing every now and then. So you see that giant tower construction up there? That's where we're going. Nope. Now the normal loading zone makes you think that everything is connected, but it's quite disconnected. As you can see, it's quite far away. Now you'd think that this is like way slower than doing it the intended way, but the fetch quest takes about 20 minutes to do, and this only 8 to 10 minutes depending on how good you are. So there you see in the middle of the screen, right above Amy, you see this little platform, this little thing sticking out. That's where we want to go. Want a little bit more height. Oops. Sometimes you forget to press the X button. So now we learn that this giant tower is actually a giant windmill. Isn't that awesome? So now I switch cameras because I'm gonna set up for another trick right at the end of this, which isn't too hard to do, but you do want to make sure that your camera is right for it. There we go. So we used to just clip into the bottom of the platform, but like 6 months ago we figured out that there is a different way of getting something we want. So this is the platform we're trying to get on, and it's surrounded by invisible walls. And we're gonna jump into there we go. So I am currently falling down and voiding out. We like to call this void warp for a very good reason. Here I quickly fill the brush because I actually do want to void out. If I don't do this, I get into a soft lock. So I'd rather do it. So currently we have voided out, and that puts us all the way back to the start of the dungeon. So a lot of things aren't rendered right now. Like the lines on this constellation are not rendered, so I had to do that basically blind. So you can already see that we are back at the start. And this is like, this is done at the windmill. However, we are not at the windmill, so it's not rendered. And instead we are right at the start of the dungeon, and we can just leave. Real quick. Doing this saves about 45 seconds. Now how it works is that the platform itself is octagonal, and the trigger is circular. So by going into a very specific spot on the octagonal part, you can kind of force yourself into the cutscene trigger, allowing you to void out during the whole cutscene thing, which is really fast, as you can see. So now that we got Gilstorm, we're done with this stupid village, and done with doing a lot of KTs. I might not look like it, but it's very tiring to do all those in a row. So now we're going to travel to the next part. I'm gonna go to the Mermaid Spring we triggered a while back. Right here. And we're gonna go back to Agata Forest. Now again, the game expects you to do a bunch of things. You're supposed to go fishing with this little boy and get the key to the next dungeon that we're going to go in. However, that would take too long. So instead we're gonna jump up here. So that's the dungeon door. And there's this juicy loading zone behind it. So we're just gonna clip behind the door and fall straight into the loading zone of the dungeon. Now for the dungeon we're also going to use this beautiful infinite jump glitch to skip basically all of the dungeon. There we go. I'm gonna go into this area. So we have to defeat all 3 of these demon gates before we're able to continue. And of course, we do that with our lovely friend, the Exorcism Slip. Oops, that was not button. I fat fingered the wrong button. Good stuff. Again, charging up speed so we can go to the next gate real fast. And this time we're gonna keep speed because we don't really need to do anything special in this fight. So we can just run into a wall for a bit. So now we're gonna try skipping a certain cutscene, but it's somewhat frame perfect. And I didn't get it. So this cutscene is skippable, but the skip is like only visible for like 1 or 2 frames. So we mash for it because we haven't found any way of getting a cue for it, and you have to get lucky, basically. And that's somewhat annoying. So then we slash these pots. Always miss one. Right there. You're supposed to walk all the way around, but simply jumping towards it allows you to get to it quickly. And the only reason we're really doing this is to get the water back to normal. So we can go into the center of the dungeon and do something fun. Here we jump down straight into the center. So here we're gonna restore these little patches of grass. I know a lot of people casually thought that you had to circle these patches because you had to bloom them, but you actually just have to fill them in. And the way I do it, I just count 6 circles in a row, and that usually does the trick. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 circle. 2, not enough. And then we get another brush power. Now this brush power is called Vine. With Vine we can vine ourselves to these little flowers. So the last 2 brush powers that I got are actually the only reason why we need them, is so we can defeat some bosses at the end of the game. So here's another cutscene trigger. We don't like cutscenes, so we're gonna jump over it. And we skip the cutscene. Pretty hard if you ask me. So the next brush power we need to get is called Thunderstorm. I almost said Thunderstruck, haha. It's a kind of a meme on my stream that I sometimes play Thunderstruck during that section. But this is probably the longest quote-unquote arc of this speedrun. It's a pretty long story arc, and because of that we have to do a lot of things. The first thing we do is we go back to Shinshu Field. Back through the tunnel that we went through a very long time ago. About half an hour ago. So finally we're going to do things in Shinshu Field. Can you imagine how happy the game is? After all that sequence breaking, we're finally returning. Even though we still haven't fixed the first village, but we don't talk about that. So we're going to talk to Mika real quick. Mika gives us a list of monsters he wants to defeat. Now these monsters only spawn at night. And the game wants to show you that, so it changes the world to night. And we get this guy called Akzo the Interloper. It's random which guy you get, but you always get this fight right after you exit. And we charge up speed again. So now we have to cross off his name on the list, like so. And we're not gonna defeat the other monsters, we don't have time for that. That's what Platinum % is for. Please don't ever run Platinum %, please don't. So next we're gonna go to this Demon Gate, because it has something really nice for us. There we go. Good spawns. Where those green imps, where all the imps spawn is random. So you just hope to get lucky. And this gives us another Mermaid Spring to use. So we're gonna dump another coin in it. And we're traveling back to northern Ryushima coast. So the only real reason why we went back to Shinshu real quick is to make it night for this next section. So a very long time ago, before I did 100 KTs in a row, we went over here and we got Orca to spawn right there. So now we're gonna finally get on his back and travel in the water, because we are horrible at swimming. You actually don't have to mash the X button here to go faster, but I like doing it. So again, we can't KT above water, but we can KT above Orca. Orca basically is ground to us, so we can get up here way before we're supposed to. We're supposed to get another brush power to be able to get up here, but we just skip that. It takes too long. Here we create a star for this guy to make a wish, and his wish is to get this giant galaxy to spawn. Isn't it beautiful? But there's something missing. The galaxy is supposed to spin. So let's summon some wind on the Earth, because that's totally how we make stars spin. Makes sense. Duh. So by making the galaxy spin, we get ourselves a whirlpool in the middle of the ocean. Again, everything in this game makes total sense. Let's see. Nice, TAS Orca. I kind of remember where I put Orca, so I can just jump down on top of him rather than landing in the water. So we're gonna go into this whirlpool real quick to get to the Dragon Palace. A beautiful place. So again, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go into the center door and go to Queen Otohime of the Dragonians and talk to her in very, very long cutscenes, but we're just gonna cut straight to the chase to where we actually want to go. that's right here. I'm gonna go out of bounds. And inside the mouth of the... Whoa, water dragon. That's bad. Oh well, we'll just do it. There we go. So now we are inside of the dragon. And the water dragon has something that we want. So we're gonna check it out. Oh, that's bad. If you do the water spout here as you're on top of the thing, you don't have to go through this entire swimming animation. And you can go off a lot earlier, but I feel bad. Also, you can just drop the key here. You're supposed to take the key with you, but for some reason, if you're far enough away, it just respawns back into your mouth. Very useful. So we use the key to open this little door. Now the programmers were kind of lazy. What they want you to do is to get some stomach acid into that room, but they were lazy and they just programmed it to react on using water spout on that dragon orb. Again, you're supposed to use stomach acid for this. But we're just skipping that. And because we skipped doing that, we're actually going to get 2 cutscenes right after each other. Like so. Now we can just skip easily. And then we get into a fight. And as per usual, we just cheese the fights with exorcism slips. Give me the money. So now we got what we needed to get here, which is the fox rods. The way it works in the story is that there are some powerful weapon that someone on our side wants to use to defeat the Dark Lord of this area. Basically the final boss. Mess this up. Okay, good. So, I just got lucky, by the way. We should have talked about that. Where this acid drops, where these little drops fall, it's completely random, and if you get hit by them, you just stop. And during those jumps, you can get completely screwed over by those. But I got lucky. It loses at least 10 seconds if you get hit by that while you're jumping, because you fall into the water and you have to get out, and it takes a long time. So we've given the foxrods over to the person on our side called Rao. And now we're going to go to the queen of this place to give her back the dragon orb that we basically water spouted out. So hello, here's your dragon orb. And bye. So the dragon orb shows us that Rao is currently under attack by the Dark Lord himself. So we're gonna go quickly and try to save her. This is a little part of the story that we actually kind of do in sequence. In the other category for this game, All Brushes, we actually do this completely out of sequence, but in 90%, we don't really need to do that at all. There's actually another fun little thing you can do with Karmic Transformers, which I haven't shown yet. It's completely useless, but I like to show it off in the middle of this run right here. So, what I do is I go to a pretty large animal, like these horses. I grab them. Oh, I grab them, and then I switch KT, and then we can do this. Whee! It's a pretty fun little glitch. We call that the telekinetic grab. It's completely useless in the speedrun, but it's fun to do. It's fun to show off. So again, we're just traveling. So that wall you see there is the walls of Ankuko Temple, which is where Rao makes her abode. So we're gonna go over there real quick. We're moving like this to skip a set of cutscenes where she beckons us to follow her, and instead we're only gonna summon this trigger this last cutscene, so that this wall over here can disappear. Like so. Goodbye, wall. Then we're going to this well. Now, this is the first time we enter Scion City, so we get this little cutscene, which is completely unrelated to where we are right now, because we're right here. If you have good eyes, by the way, you saw the dead body of Rao at the start of this well, and she had been dead for a while, so something is amiss. And this tunnel leads straight to the Imperial Palace. Well, not the Imperial Palace, but the Palace of the Queen, actually. However, to be able to enter this, you have to go through a bunch of lava, which is really bad. Lava hurts. You're supposed to grab a fire tablet so you can swim through all this lava, but the lava is considered liquid. So what we just do is we do a liquid KT and just jump over it. You can actually jump over it without using KTs, but it's very hard and finicky. You have to do perfect jumps, basically. I think they do that in New Game, but I'm not completely sure. I haven't really focused on New Game that much. So it turns out that Rao was actually the Dark Lord in disguise. So we quickly defeat her. Or defeat him, actually. The Dark Lord is a he. And now we go and beat his ass in his dungeon. Oops. So this is what happens when you drop into the lava. Very predictable. This is considered pulling a Kai. Shoutouts to Kaiserado. He's a really cool guy. He's been running this for a while now. There we go. So the thing about the lair of the Dark Lord is that it randomly spawns in certain places, and somehow the Queen here, Queen Himiko, has figured out a way to locate it once. And now we need to travel to it as quickly as possible because it'll move again when night falls. And it's currently right outside the coast of northern Hiroshima coast, so we're gonna go over there real quick. So this is Waka. Hello, Waka. Waka wants to say more things actually, but the game expects you to go towards the palace rather than go away from it, so we can just walk away. Usually it's like, hey, I want to say more things to you, but we just skip doing that. And again, we haven't been here yet, so we get this little cutscene like, hey, this is Scion. But it shows it from a different perspective, so most of the characters aren't loaded. Now we don't have to jump over the gate for some reason. It just allows you to move through it. You're supposed to have this item to be able to open the gate, but we don't have that. So there to the left you see those clouds. That is Oni Island, our next dungeon. And we're gonna go over to there real quick. There we go. We jumped around there like that to skip a forced fight that we never cleared yet. You're supposed to clear it when you first enter this area, but because we entered from the other side, we don't. So now we have this giant bridge of Water Dragon that connects us to Oni Island. So we can go over there and beat the Dark Lord. Now, this dungeon is very long and tedious, so instead of doing the dungeon, we're just gonna jump over here and go slightly out of bounds on this slope on the side. Now what I'm trying to do here is whenever I land, the moment I land, I jump. That way I preserve as much height as possible. And it's called green hopping, or we like to call it green hopping, because you have this little patch of green where you land, rather than this golden stuff that comes out when you run. So I'm pretty good on height. I usually use that black spot to figure it out. And there we have this beautiful statue. And there we go. So we store this arrow on the statue, and that gives us another constellation. So that means another brush power. This one is called Thunderstorm. And what you can do with it is you can control lightning, like so. Now you're supposed to go through that door, but I have a faster way to the boss. This is one of the few dungeons in the game where it's faster to actually just beat the boss rather than go outside. You actually have to do some very weird things to be able to get outside of this dungeon. You have to like jump all the way around and do some... I've actually never tried it, but I know it's not faster to do so. And it actually soft locks the game as well. So we just go out and beat the boss. Thunderstorm is actually, I think, yeah, it's the last brush power we're getting. So now we're just going to try and go over to the final section of the game as quickly as possible. For this section, it doesn't matter how long I take about it, because I have to wait right here for this cycle. Let's see if we can get a one cycle. Nah, this is not going to be a one cycle, not even close. Went a little late. You can just one cycle through all these holes, but I had to wait a little bit. So again, we're just breezing through this dungeon completely unintendedly. It's kind of hard to explain where I'm going. Trying to save speed there, but whatever. So this is the best character in the game. This is Toby, and he races us. I'm messing up big time here. It's not very good. Why is Toby the best character in the game? He just is. He is way awesome. He's a true speedrunner at heart. Luckily, he doesn't have to die in the speedrun. We just skip doing that and just go straight to the boss. So the boss of this place, the Dark Lord, as he likes to call himself, is actually called Ninetails. You can see that from this beautiful constellation. And he thinks himself a god, so that's why you have to summon him through a constellation. And then we fight him. So the way this fight works is that in this first phase you can't actually hurt him. You have to split him into these parts and kill those one by one. Ouch. So you just hit him, you thunderstorm his sword, and that way he splits into these parts. And now we can finally start hurting him. See the arena changes as well. And because we are overpowered, we just one-shot him. And that was Ninetails. So that's the only boss we actually beat that is not in the final boss rush of the game. Oops, spoilers. So Waka told us that there's some thunder in Shinshu Field and we better check it out. And I think he's right, we should check it out. Because we do, after all, have all the brush powers we need to finish the game. Nice, that movement is a little tight. Nice to jump over the river. So here we're going to travel back to Shinshu Field. So that's where the thunder is, on this giant building over there. Again, you're supposed to go around and use a brush power to get up, but who needs brush powers when you can just infinite jump up there? There we go. And that way we open a doorway. And this doorway leads us to the final main area of the game. This area has like giant amounts of story and content that we're just going to skip. Who needs content? Exactly. Let's bring it on to Smash. So we're gonna go right over here and see if we haven't seen those enough. I'm gonna jump over this invisible wall and go out of bounds. The way you're supposed to do this section is you're supposed to use Thunderstorm to break open the rock, and that way you can bloom this tree. Instead, we're just going out of bounds, and we bloom the tree out of bounds, like this, like so. And for some reason, that makes the rock explode, because the tree is so powerful. So then this next bit is a little bit scary. There's a soft lock here. I hope I miss it. I'm gonna go somewhat safe and go straight up one. I'm currently in the danger zone. Okay, we're good. It's always scary, that part. You can do that in 2 KTs, but for safety I added an extra one, just to make sure that I get over it, because this is a marathon run after all. I do have a save file quite close, but missing that jump is kind of stupid, because there's a fight there that requires a certain brush power to be able to beat, and we don't have that brush power because we skip so many of them. And so if you land into that fight, you can't escape from the fight, and you're screwed. You just have to end the run at that point. So this is web gear. Everyone's away because we're scary, but that's okay. We're just traveling through. I mean, wouldn't you be scared if you see a weird dog just constantly jumping in midair? I know I would. We just jump over this invisible wall. And we're getting really close to the end of the game. Still gonna take a while though. Don't worry about it. You don't have to stand ready on time yet. So the way the ending of the game is, you're supposed to raise this arc in some way, and that way you go to the final area of the game. However, the game designers were somewhat lazy. I kind of lost the count already. And they basically put the loading zone already where it's supposed to be. So we just jump into the loading zone and enter the arc. That is actually a right moment to clap, because those were the final KTs. I no longer have to do frame perfect tricks. I'm very happy about that. Because they're very annoying. Not even close. So this is the arc. The arc is a boss rush of bosses you've never seen. You're supposed to have met all these bosses, and you're supposed to have certain brush powers to fight them. And that is basically how any percent works. You go through the game, you get double jump, then you get all the brush powers you need to finish the game, and then you finish the game. You can actually get to the arc in under 30 minutes, but doing so would basically soft lock you, because you won't be able to beat these bosses. So for this boss you're supposed to have missed, but luckily he spawns this sword right here that you can just hit, and that kills him. Kind of a bad fight though. Supposed to not get hit at all. So these Celestials kind of tell you, they're called Celestials, they kind of tell you the story of this arc and what transpired here and what brought evil upon the world and blah blah blah. It's not very interesting. Well, it is very interesting if you play the game, but... So this boss I really enjoy the strats for it, but it can be very, very annoying because things just sometimes don't work the way you want them to work. So the way you do this boss is you're supposed to get 3 heads drunk. Ugh, it was too close. That's really bad. Yeah, okay, I screwed up big time. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna reset this section real quick. That was too slow. Yeah, I just messed up the strat completely. Oh well. I'll just get this head somewhat drunk, I guess. Oh my god, I keep getting hit. So because Earth does that thing, you can get 3 heads to do that thing at the same time, and you'd use 1 water spout to get them all tipsy, and then you get them all drunk. That was pretty horrible. Like I said, it's a really cool strat, but it can be somewhat finicky if you mess up a little bit. And then we use 2 slips to go into the next phase. The next phase is a little bit RNG dependent because there's going to be fire falling down. And that fire is completely RNG. If you get hit, you usually get hit while you're standing here waiting to beat him. And I accidentally whiffed that one. You have to time your attacks a little bit. Okay, we got lucky there. One of the systems in the game allows you to take hits without taking them actually. And then we get pecked by fire. There we go. And that's Orochi. It's a really cool fight. I'm kind of sad I messed it up so much. A little bit. Nope. So the next boss we're going to be fighting is called a Spider Queen. For this fight we need to vine the hooks on her back. So we first vine ourselves to get into position. And then we just, before landing, we try to vine all 3. We failed that. And then we use 2 slips to quickly kill her. Like so. Again, we do a lot of cheesing with slips. Making fights pretty easy. Let's see. Yeah. Perfectly in front of the loading zone. I kind of memorized where the loading zones are. So I just try to move to them as much as possible. The next boss is Crimson Helm, and I need to do like a couple of things to beat him. I really dislike it though, I'm really bad at it, I always mess up the sequence. So let's hope I don't do it this time. There we go, that was perfect. And that was Crimson Helm. Again, we're kind of overpowered in New Game Plus, so all the fights are quite easy. That too. I am that good. That good. So the last boss of the boss rush is a boss we actually have seen in this run. It's unbelievable. It's the only boss that we actually do in the run. Well, we do outside of the arc. And it's Ninetales. It's actually pretty funny because in this boss rush we kind of skip one of the bosses that are also in the story, which is kind of sad. So again, we hit him, and split him apart. I think you might notice that I'm looking for the fat one and then for the old one, because those have more health than the other ones, so I have to hit them rather than just using a slip for them. Now this time I can't just mash an attack button, so for safety reasons, to make it a little bit easier on myself, I just use a slip and then hit him. It's very confusing whether or not he's a male or a female. Supposedly he's male, so that's why I call him him. So now that we've beaten the boss rush, we can go to the final part. We can go to the final boss, actually, of the game. Yay! Finally. Oops, double jump. So the final boss of this game is also the boss we cheese the most. This boss fight is very sad, and if you ever play this game casually, please don't copy what I'm doing. Because it's a really well designed boss fight, and we're just cheesing it really hard. And to me this is always the saddest part of this run because of it. So the way the boss fight works is that the boss takes away all your 13 brush powers, and you have to beat him to get them back. Now the fight is very interesting and cool, but because we're so overpowered, it basically becomes an auto-scroller, as you can see. And that's the first phase. I'm gonna go to the second phase now. That was too early. Good. So as you can see, because we're so overpowered, the boss, this phase basically has no health anymore, which means that it will continuously give us brush powers if we do certain things. Okay, and now the boss has no more health. Yeah, totally normal. And we're done with this phase now. So we're just gonna hit him a little bit and then skip to the go to the next phase. There we go. So for this next phase, we're going to be using our favorite item, the Exorcism Slip. And we're gonna do that 5 times. This is to rig the slots. We're slot riggers now. There we go. Perfect. There we go. Can't put out these fires, sadly. And the final set of slots. And then to go to the next phase, we simply use another slip. There we go. Now for this phase, we're going to do something very original. I'm going to use 2 slips. Oh. And guess what we're going to do next? We're going to use 2 more slips. Now, we're not done yet, so we're going to use 2 more slips. And that gives us the final brush power. So we're done with this phase. So to mix things up a little, instead of 2 slips, we'll be using 3 slips. Boom. So that's that phase, and now we're going to go to the final phase, so get ready on time. For this final phase, we simply have to draw the sun, which we still don't have, and time. So the in-game timer is currently still running, so I'm going to skip through the final cutscene and the credits, because it keeps running through those. And that gives us the in-game time of 1:26:17, which is a decent time, I guess. So that was Okami, new game plus any %. I'd like to make a quick shout out to the Okami community because they're all awesome people and I love them. So thank you very much for making this game even more fun than it is. And I'll give it over next to our next runner, who's doing a lot of memes apparently.